management at CenturyPly is with us. Mr. Keshav Bhajanka, Executive Director at CenturyPly, is with us. Sir, 2020, of course, was an abnormal year. 2021 was a year of recovery. What sort of a feeling you get going into 2022? You think we'll see a normalized year for the industry?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, I definitely think 2022 is going to be a normal year. As far as demand is concerned, Q1 this year was obviously hit because of COVID. But so far, the resurgence that we have seen in Q2 and Q3 has been phenomenal. And I think going forward, there are brighter days ahead.
When we just talk about the virus, the first time when it came, there was a very big scare. The second time it came, there was also a scare. And now, you are again getting cases increasing. But do you believe that, virus will play its role, but industry demand, the pent-up demand will still continue for a lot of industries, not only for yours, but, industries which have just seen a, sort of a shutdown as far as 2020 is concerned?
I think the one thing that has happened is after COVID, people have realized the value of their homes, the value of their personal spaces. And consumer behavior towards our category has changed due to the same. If you look at it now, people invest a lot more in their homes because they have spent so much more time in their homes. People who had a 2-bedroom have wanted to upgrade to a 3-bedroom. People who had 3 bedrooms have wanted to upgrade to a 4-bedroom. Whoever had liquidity has invested in their homes, in perhaps a new home. And I think this trend is likely to continue. Alongside that, you see, in phase 2, there were a lot of deaths. There were a lot of hospitalization. And I'm no expert, but I believe that the new variant isn't as deadly. So I think the impact, in case it is more like a flu, is obviously going to be lower. So hopefully it continues like that. And next year, we can go from strength to strength.
Keshav, the other thing has also been raw material prices, right? And they have seen a spike throughout, not just the input prices, but fuel prices in particular as well. How is it that you are mitigating that impact for you? And has this, resulted in a price hike that you've undertaken? And more importantly, if at all, how's that getting absorbed by the consumers?
So, you've hit the nail on the head. Raw material prices have shot up drastically. This has been the biggest increase in such a short duration that I've seen in my career. But being a market leader, we have substantial pricing power. So we have been able to pass the price increases on to consumers. And because it is not just us, it is the industry as a whole. I think we are a bit insulated compared to most others because of economies of scale. So I think this has been absorbed by the market far better than we could have anticipated. And going forward, I think this is unlikely to have any meaningful impact on margins.
Okay. I was just looking at the plywood industry right now, and still it's a very large, unorganized, dominant market out there with almost 75% constituting to the unorganized players. I wanted to understand whether or not the consumer behavior has at least begun to change in any way. Is the consumer now migrating towards quality and thereby come players like you? Or for the next foreseeable future, you still see, dominance by the unorganized players?
The industry is still 3/4 unorganized, as you have said, but consumer behavior has definitely changed. We are seeing a demand for branded products. We are seeing people wanting a quality product. See, anyone who had a problem in their homes due to a plywood or a panel-related product during COVID saw how difficult or how much of a nightmare it was to get it rectified. You won't have carpenters, contractors entering your homes because your society, your housing society may have put a rule against it. If there's a panel that is broken in the kitchen, you're facing a torrid time working around that. If there was a problem with your bed, you didn't have peace of mind at night. So there is definitely a demand for quality products. There is a preference for brand. But three-fourth and one-fourth, that equation will, of course, take time to change. However, the early signs are that that change is already taking place.
I want to go back to the point of inflation that you just mentioned, that you have not seen such a fast hike in such a short period of time. So of course, there may be a 1 quarter margin impact, then you'll price in and price on, and things will move on in 1 year. But what does it do to the consumer? So if there is a premium product, does consumer move to the slightly lower end? Can their down trading be possible? So how is the company preparing for the change in the consumer behavior because of this price hike?
You see, if you look at the overall picture, when you look at the interiors of a household, the cost of the plywood is less than 10 to 15%. Even if there is a 3-4% hike in the price of plywood, that is a small decimal impact to the overall cost of making interiors for a home. So I think that increase has not really affected us much, because the unorganized sector has taken the same increase. And the consumer now realizes that it is not going to be a meaningful impact on his overall budget. So I think that sort of plays into our favor.
And also, just wanted to understand, sir, that generally when you have seen hyperinflation, how the demand changes. Customer also takes some time to adjust to the changes that are happening in. So what sort of changes, and not only for your industry, for major industry, we have seen this price hike happening in. How do you expect the consumer behavior to change? How much time will they take to adjust 1 quarter, 2 quarters? How do you see things getting normalized again with the new pricing?
I think the issue arises when someone is purchasing material in lots and they have gotten the earlier material at a slightly reduced price, and then they're being asked for a higher price for the next lot. That is where the true challenge lies. Because if you look at the channel, if you look at our dealers or our distributors, for them, when a price hike happens, the value of the old inventory goes up. The ability to make some extra margin is there. So stocking takes place. So that does not really affect our volumes too much. But yes, definitely on the consumer front, there are issues, but it's a very, very minuscule or a short time frame issue, because the industry as a whole has increased prices. It's not just one company. So when there is a comparison, you compare between some of the top players, right? In our industry, there are basically two top players, and when both of them take increases, and when the unorganized, the semi-organized also take increases, for the customer, there is a realization that yes, this is due to raw material cost, and this hike is there to stay.
Keshav, I was just looking at the revenue pie, and plywood still constitutes to more than 50% of your revenues. At an industry level, with players like IKEA only increasing their penetration into markets like India, is this likely to change, or do you think plywood would continue to dominate the revenue piece for not just you, but for the other players in the market too?
So if you look at the last decade, if you look at China as the example, because they have a population similar to India, maybe slightly higher, plywood has actually grown faster than MDF and particle board. Now, the larger players, the IKEAs of the world, or even the smaller OEMs, they prefer dealing in MDF and particle board because they're easier to mold than plywood. But the demand for plywood has increased exponentially in a country like China in the recent past. So I see no reason to believe that there's going to be a mass change in the dynamic. Yes, MDF and particle board are likely to grow faster owing to the lower base that these products have, but I think plywood has a very strong growth ahead.
Keshav, so good to chat with you today and get in, a really great dimension about all aspects that impact not just your business, but the entire industry as well.
Thank you so much.